It's Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto. With me, as always, I have Shawn Slaght over Moose Jaw. Shawn, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks, Gary.
Awesome. And I have Muffler Mike over in Connecticut. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. Excellent. It's cold here, man. I thought I moved to Saskatoon for crying out loud. It's cold. It's unfair
cold here
cold.
too.
Man. I did a 3-hour singing job outside today, and you know what I found? It's cold here, man. That's all I can say about that. It's nice to be indoors. I tell you that. Even in the meat locker here, it's nice to be indoors. But, we had a busy week. We had 7 games on the NLL docket. We had a couple of ALL things. We have some news. We have some milestones already. It's, middle of the season, isn't it? All the milestones coming in. But anyways, just before we get rolling, just a reminder to everybody, of course, that all of our episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, also Twitch. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Please enjoy all of our affiliates across the Streampunk Entertainment Network, like Fly Like an Eagle, Keep It in the Ring, Hardcore Sports, soccer, football, cinema, all kinds of things. If you've missed the show, no worries. You can catch all the shows on YouTube, whether it be at Streampunk Cinema, Streampunk Combat, Streampunk Sports, or all across all the time. Of course, please share. Please tell everybody about it. And as well, when you go there, you can catch retro games, interviews, our library of shows, press conferences, fights, and so much more, and more coming all the time. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting streampunkentertainment.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also remember that our show is brought to you by 60. 60 is Canada's newest, most exciting sports uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and excellence sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. Add Lax Talk 10 for a 10% discount on your order, and Jim will take care of you. How to get to them? First of all, you can use a QR code that's in the center of your screen, or you can go right to Instagram at sweet_60. You can email them at info.sweet60@gmail.com, or go right to their website at www.sweet60.ca/60. And Jim will be more than happy to work with any and all of your ideas to get the perfect result that you are looking for. Well, guys, we had a few things that went on. First of all, I want to bring the light to this one because this is awesome. Congratulations to Dominique Hartley, who made history by becoming the first female on-floor ref in the NLL. That's movement. That's success. Long time coming. I watched it in the preseason. I was wondering if they would do it in regular season, and here it is. No more just being a timekeeper, being a shot clock operator on the floor. Long time coming. Well done, NLL. Yeah. We had some milestones this week as well, guys. Oh, before I get rolling, just a reminder to all of our Jewish fans, colleagues, friends, happy Hanukkah. All right, some milestones. Why don't we start with Ian McKay with 100 career goals. Really has moved that number up since he's coming out the front door the last year and a half.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of that game, we had Jake Withers, who set the career face-off wins, 21-51, third all-time in NLL history. Passes Jeff Snyder. That's huge company. Alex Simmons, who has very quickly gotten to 200 career points. Now, are we talking about quickly? How about this one? Jeff Teat, the fastest player to 500 points in NLL history. And I imagine if we look, he's probably the fastest to 400, 300, 200, and 100.
Oh,
Sorry,
very
Shawn.
likely.
Yeah.
Sorry, Shawn. We'll
get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah,
that one as well. Congratulations to
we
Robert
got that.
Church well for 900 career points. Now that's a distinguished career.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty amazing. But before we get into all this, Shawn, can you explain to me my one loss this week and what in the heck happened?
Let's go
It looks
to
so good for 3 quarters.
let's go to 2 points here. They forgot that it's 4 quarters, not 3 periods. So we're on that. And then number 2.
Well played, sir.
Then number 2, they forgot that Jeff Teat is very, very good at lacrosse, and figured,
There's been rumors, yeah. There's been rumors about that.
You know, when they score 6 goals and 4 of them become from Jeff Teat, you scratch your head a little bit at that one.
Yeah, you might want to guard him. He's a little bit dangerous. I for the life of me, I look at that and go, this is the team that was an eyelash away from winning. And that's not going to get you to win.
Well, I just kind of went back. So in the first 2 games the Russia played, they're now in fourth quarters have been outscored 11-5.
Have we found an Achilles heel?
Yeah.
Finishing power, foot on throat, step down, not step up. A little too Canadian for me there. Gosh, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure that out for the last couple of days, and a team with that kind of talent and had the game in hand, and just it went woof.
There's really no reason why they shouldn't have put the foot on the throat, right? Like, yeah, you saw it in Calgary, where Calgary came back in the fourth. I mean, they at least were able to kind of hold them off at the end, but
yeah,
I scratched my head at what happened in the fourth quarter there. I just
no. To my context of my little bit of pain. We'll bring this back up when Pat's here because I just want to give him a little bit of pain too. But yeah, 6-1, and that one, of course, was I had Saskatchewan, and it looked good for 3 quarters. It looked good,
looked very good,
and it got more painful. And like Lax class is who you got because that one. Well, I went 6-1 on that, and the guy who won the week went 7-0. He had this one as well. But I believe I am tied for first overall, so there is a bright side to this. Anyways. All right. We'll get back to that when we do all the recaps. And we're going to have, hopefully we see Caden tonight, and Pat's supposed to be on around 20 minutes after the hour, so in about 10 minutes from now. And we'll discuss his elation, even though he didn't pick him, with Philadelphia. But just before we get moving, you figure that one, right? But we had some ALL games this week, and like we've been experiencing, it's been bizarro land a little bit there, and from what's been going on in the last couple of years, we start off on Friday night, and Oshawa came in and beat Brampton in Brampton, 13-12. In fact, I took a couple of late goals from Brampton to make it as close as it was, and they just plain ran out of time. But, Oshawa put together a really good game. And after last week, they needed it. So they're now, both teams are 1-1. But Oshawa started out strong and continued it, And, the first and third were their big quarters. They were up 5-2 after one. They put together a 5-1 third quarter where they had the Saskatchewan curse. In the fourth, it was 6 goals for Brampton that made this a much closer game than it needed to be. In the 3 stars, Gareth Hay, there's a familiar name from the Hamilton Bengals. He was first star, 4 goals, 3 assists on a night for Oshawa. Quentin Greenfield was fantastic in the Oshawa Nets. He made 57 saves on the night. So it's not like Brampton wasn't peppering him with shots. And Penn Eistrat was the 3rd star for Brampton with a couple of goals in the game. We moved to Saturday, and Toronto and Six Nations got together. Now, Toronto had a rough one last week, But I guess the what the doctor ordered was the inconsistent Six Nations snipers who are still inconsistent. Well, they're a little more consistent. They're not doing well. And Toronto went ahead and beat them 15-9 on the 3 stars on that. Pat Thompson from Toronto had 3 goals and an assist, was the first star. The bright spot for Six Nations in this game was Caden Balint had 4 goals and 2 assists. Tanner Buck had 4 goals and 2 assists for Toronto as well en route to this victory. They're also at 1-1 now in the league. This afternoon there was a pair of games over at the ILA. The first one had Whitby against Paris. Paris had a great week last week. Whitby not so good. And, well, a little bit backwards this week. Whitby beat them 14-12. My guests from Thursday's show, which was the Pfeiffer brothers, they made their mark in this game for Whitby. Parker had 5 goals and 3 assists. Devin had a goal and 2 assists. Owen Orpana, there's a name we're going to hear a lot about, I think, over the year in ALL for Whitby. He had 4 goals and 6 assists in this game, and he's really feeling his way in there. So once again, we had Whitby beating Paris 14-12. In a late game, we had the 2 teams that both had decent victories last week, Peterborough and Oswego. And, well, this is one I haven't said in a couple of years, Mike. Peterborough wins 19-16. They are undefeated to start the year at 2-0. Oswego drops to 1-1, but what an evenly played game. And this came right down to the wire. Looking at the stats there for Peterborough, Cam Milligan with 3 goals, 7 assists. Jeff McNulty, 4 goals, 4 assists. Zach Thompson, 3 goals, 4 assists. Aaron Woods, 3 goals, 3 assists. Austin Lammer with 3 goals and an assist. Howie Francis with 2 goals and an assist. Very balanced attack for the first time in years that it's been that consistent. For Oswego, Shane Halliwell had 4 goals, 3 assists. Eddie Renault, friend of the show, friend of mine, 4 goals, 3 assists. Josh Sanchez has a facilitator, goal and 5 assists. Sander Delarond, we know of him from President's Cup action, 3 goals and an assist. Dante Kulas with a goal, 3 assists. Waylon Abrams with 2 goals and 1 assist. So I still am very high on the Oswego team and all that they are going to be bringing this year. It's going to be a very exciting year. The parity in the league is wild because Peterborough is 2-0, Six Nations is 0-2, and everybody in between is 1-1 right now. Looking at upcoming games, circle this one on your calendar on Saturday. It will be the Oshawa Outlaws against the Peterborough Timbermen at Children's Arena in Oshawa in the early game. The late game has the Brampton Express against the Whitby Steelhawks. Again, at Children's Arena in Oshawa. Definitely circle that on your calendars. Both games are worth seeing. $10, man. $10 a game. You're not going to find better entertainment than that anywhere. And on the Sunday, you have up at the ILA, Toronto against Oswego, another spectacular game, and Paris against Six Nations in a later game on the Sunday afternoon. So all 4 games are going to be slobber knockers. You're going to want to make sure you get to all of them. And it's only 2 stops. Saturday at Children's Arena, Sunday at the ILA, 2 games each day, and you are not going to be disappointed. Brian, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us as always. Brian is smiling ear to ear with his beautiful seats over there at Wells Fargo. And we'll get into that in a few minutes. However, I want to bring in Scoop Balint. How are you, Scoop? Good to have you around, sir. You are already celebrating with his new team, the Rochester Nighthawks, who, by the way, are for real.
Baby!
Caden, how you doing, man? I know you've had a great week and you've been busy on the news desk for Albany TV station. Well done, sir.
Yes,
Bravo.
yes.
Welcome.
Let's say it to the fans of all across. I have been hired by News Channel 10, W10 TV. It's a news producer. So I'm just gonna give myself golf claps on that one.
I love that. I love that. But just don't be the one producing the news, right?
No, because if I produce the news, then everyone's gonna get doxxed. Or people are news. I'm kidding, guys.
We cover the news. We don't like to be the news.
No, but it's been a fun start so far. 3
Absolutely.
days in.
Absolutely. So let's talk. Rochester. They made San Diego look silly in San Diego, did they not?
No, I would agree. I know we're going to talk about our predictions again. I think I got 2 right, but it's more impressive to get 2 right than 5. Just want to. I don't 5 and 7. That's actually not as bad as I thought. It's not.
It actually should be 5 and 8.
5 and 8. I'm sorry, 5 and 8.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Yeah, it was 13 games so far. Sorry.
But
Take the wind out of his sails, Mike. Go ahead.
Yep, absolutely.
really,
Yeah.
really,
I'm
really
here
thought
all
Vegas,
Actually makes it look better because he has 1 less loss than he actually has.
really thought Vegas had it.
His percentage went down a little bit too, so
Yeah.
that is pretty wild. Oh, well,
But-
let's talk about Rochester.
Rochester looked good. 15
Very
goals against San Diego. Obviously, a lot of teams first week this week. We've only seen a couple teams play leading up to week 3. I know Philadelphia had their first go around this week. Rochester, but Connor Fields 4 goals. I mean, beautiful. And I like seeing guys. I mean, obviously Launchbury had 9 assists, but it's still good to just get all that kind of production. Like, I'm still learning this team compared to how I had my Firewolves in there. But I mean, they started strong too, which is really good. A back and forth, and then leading into a 5-goal run, which I mean, I've always preached that in the past with the Firewolves, that those runs are incredibly important, and stuff like that is huge. And a lot of the times we talk about extra possessions when it comes to these games, and a lot of it comes down from the face-off or from those loose balls. And that was something that San Diego actually led with. Obviously, they have a massive face-off guy with Trevor Baptiste, and he's incredibly great in that face-off position, incredibly great with picking up loose balls. So he was still able to get those extra possessions for San Diego, get those extra chances to score. Obviously 24 of 26 for the face-off from San Diego. But while Rochester couldn't win the face-off, that also tells you that if they're winning like this without the face-off, just imagine what's going to happen once they get their face-off man down.
Yeah.
Extra possessions lead to extra goals,
penalty
and
kill.
that 15 could be 20.
Their penalty kill was extreme early on, especially because they went down 2 men, and you could just see it that this is where it all changes. Their penalty kill was awesome. All night.
No, absolutely.
All night. They're not a dirty team, so they don't take a lot of penalties, but when they do, they're there to cover up for one another. Oh, just a second. I gotta bring in Pat.
Oh boy.
Just
Now the question is, where is mine?
Dude, I haven't seen one of these fruit by the foot since I was 9 years old, but my kids racked them up, and I figured this is going to be a good celebration.
it's funny. We have a lot of giddy people around here. We have Pat,
Yeah.
even though he didn't pick them, with an afternoon victory yesterday, and a stunning one, man. A little bit tense in the fourth quarter, Pat. How about
Well,
that fourth quarter, guys. I don't know.
Fourth quarter.
I need to get somebody on from Calgary also to tell me about the fourth quarters as well, because that was their downfall in Toronto. But anyways, a little bit iffy there in the fourth. However, the other 3 quarters looked real good. And like I told you all in the preseason, defense is strong.
Yeah.
I noticed right away, and I addressed this with Ian Rubel in the post game interviews. I said, "That's right. Let's go Hawks." I said right off the bat, "Yeah, what's up, Brian?" I said, "Ian, is this the kind of defense you want to be, identified with? Is a smash mouth, Philadelphia Styles, defense?" And he said, "Yes. Like this is what he wanted. This is what he wanted the Philly crowd to see. He wanted to see that physicality that this team was going to bring." And listen, everything as advertised, because those cats, when you came into the defensive zone against the Wings, it was like the vet days. You're going to leave with a scar, black and bruises, some teeth missing, blood was going to be shown. I mean, this was a whole nother team that I never saw before. And credit to Ian Rubel on both sides of the ball there, because they played 2 different styles of offense. Their first half was to get into an offensive zone, get into a rhythm, which gave their defense some time to result, get some restart, get some themselves regenerate, and they would get into an offensive zone and they would make creative plays. Second half, not so much. They went a little bit up tempo, which caused Nick DeMew and the defense to get tired out some. And the penalties, 5 straight penalties, didn't help that team out either. I mean, Ian Rubin again said that that's something they're going to have to address, especially going into Rochester. You cannot do that. But I mean, listen, it was a win. My sphincter got tight at the end, but hey, listen, like Ian Rubin said, whether you win by 5 goals, 1 goal, it's a win. You're in the win column. And I know, like, a lot of people don't have this team on their radar as a contender. But this was a nice W to saying, hey, you know what, we belong here, And that's another thing too, Brian. Dalton Young was, he had great vision, finding guys on breakaways, finding guys in open spaces. Eric Fennell didn't look like he missed a beat after missing 2 years of not playing, lacrosse. He got himself in, very creative. Spin moves, get themselves in, in transition, all that stuff. So, again, it looked good, and especially with no Michael Sowers and no Blades Reardon at your disposal, how was this team going to be able to click? And to me, this was a tight win. Now, again, your highest goals, Eric Fennell and Joe Russell-Terrence only had 2 goals, but no one really was doing, any outside of that was really doing any kind of big plays and all that stuff. So you're going to need guys to kind of.
I think what you need to be looking at also is the game that Nick DeMew had. He was sensational.
And he played very, very well. I'm very shocked. I mean, he came into a zone. I don't know, obviously Deacon Knock being here or he had a good preseason and a good camp. I mean, this was a different Nick DeMew that I saw. And the defense in front of him, actually, it helped. It helped a lot for him.
I think Paul Day addressed a lot of stuff on the defense, and he cleared a lot of that up. So now DeMew can actually see what's coming at him. And, the old adage is, if I can see it, I can stop it. And they're allowing him to see it and clearing out all the mess in front.
Yeah, that's one of the big things I saw specifically on the defense, and I'll have a second point I'll get to in a sec. But I noticed when the guys were on defense that feet were constantly moving. That's not something I've been seeing the last couple of years. I've been seeing a lot of flat-footed guys, not sure, if they're supposed to be sliding, switching,
They were relentless, that defense.
But yeah, I saw feet constantly moving, guys constantly moving, them battling for loose balls. And I want to bring up something that Shawn had said off air. It kind of goes to a little bit to Pat's concern about Blaze Reardon, coming back, not coming back. I get the sense that them naming Chris Corbeil captain is twofold. It's one, as Shawn had said off air, who better on the team to to make a captain than someone with 3 NLL championships, just tons of playoff experience.
As a captain too, he won those championships as
Yeah.
a captain. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the second thing it tells me is that, we know Blaze Reardon's on the pup list. I think he's going to be there for a while. I don't think they're making this move if they expect him back in 2 to 3 weeks.
That's true.
So I get the sense this move was made because we're not going to see Blaze Reardon until week 16 or 17 or at all, maybe.
And yeah, I mean, so yeah, and that's true too. So maybe they just want just to label someone the captain. It's fine. Like I said,
someone has to be just by rule.
Yeah.
There has to be someone wearing a captain's seat.
But you got yourself a top stalwart person to do it.
And you know what? Hey, listen, it's no harm, no foul. Listen, we know what Blaze Reardon can bring to you. We know that his aggressiveness down low and what he means to his team in the locker room. But we know he'll be there in behind the scenes and all that stuff, trying to contribute and help out. But from what I saw, the way this offense ran on the week, through the weekend, it was smooth. It was just smooth. I mean, like I said, things got a little hairy in that second half where they tried to go a little too fast up tempo and get themselves in little penalty troubles. Outside of that, I mean, this was a really this was a wings game. This is what Ian Rubel wanted. This is a smash mouth defense of physicality, and his offense grounded you, picked you apart down low, guys in transition, guys shooting from outside. Brandon O'Neill, all that stuff. I mean, everyone brought their A game. Everyone answered the bell. Seinfeld said himself. He said, we're someone had to answer bell. And as a team, they're doing it. And we've discussed this last week. This is a team that has no pressure on themselves. This is a team that's come into a season probably on paper that's not even a contender, not even looked at, and all that stuff. And what I say last week. The most dangerous animal in the room is the one with no pressure on themselves, because there's no expectations with this team. Who knows where they're going to go? So, listen, like I said, taking a win from the Colorado Mammoth was good. And listen, Colorado Mammoth they adjusted to the game as well. That second half, they delivered. They gave Philly a little bit of their own antidote with some physicality defense. You got guys like Dylan McIntosh making plays. You guys got the partners in crime, Will Macklin and Ryan Lee. Those guys making plays. So Philly had you just can't sleep on a team like Colorado because if you saw it, they sneakily were still hanging around. And listen, if this game went any further, any longer, Colorado might have took the W.
I want to pick devil's advocate a little bit, Pat, and say that, I actually didn't mind them pushing the pace a little bit. I mean, that's something, again, we haven't really seen is, that athleticism. And, we got a young team with fresh legs that can just go at it. And I think Brian mentioned, or someone there mentioned about Brendan O'Neill. And, I know he had, I think, 2 goals and assist or an assist and 2 goals. So I think he had 3 points. But, I was really impressed with how I saw him play there, making his own space. I think we're starting to see him take those next steps and get a little bit more comfortable with the box game.
Yeah, and you're right, Shawn. He is getting a little bit comfortable now. This is his second year now. He's kind of adapted to the game. Again, getting 2 goals in there, shooting from the outside, getting contributing to the assist boards. He's looking fine out there. He's willing to he's got to be one of those guys who step up for if this team wants to be a contender with the upper echelon teams. But yeah, he played very, very well on opening day. And like I said, credit to the whole team. This was a team effort and all that stuff.
The big test, I think, is next week. Philly travels into Rochester.
Love
play
that
the
building.
Nighthawks. It's going to be a real test from what I watched with Rochester this evening, and I think that Nate Damoud's going to have to be as sharp, if not even sharper, if he's going to give them a chance to win. Because, man, that Rochester team, and Caden, you can attest to this, they're sharpshooters. There's so much. If you guard McConvey and you guard Waters, well, then you have Fields and you have Smith. If you worry about, take care of Smith and Field, and then you take care of Water, then you still have. It goes on and on and on. There's so much talent there, and that's not talking about the transition. That's not talking about Rylan Hartley being absolutely spectacular in that second half, shutting down San Diego altogether. So even if you're getting opportunities and a team that's not scoring a lot like Philadelphia, and you got someone like Hartley on the other side who's going to stone you, that could be a little bit daunting as well. Caden, what you think?
No, 100%, Gary. And I want to go to one of the comments. I can't pull it up, but one of the comments that was mentioned that even Hartley looked very, very solid in that second half. And I mean, that's just kind of like there it is. Yeah. From Utica, that just looking at their stat line, it was 4 goals in the first half from San Diego, 3 coming in the second quarter, then 3 in the second half with only 1 coming in the fourth. I mean, it's just, if they held it down the line, they held the line, and like you said, that's just going to be a great showing for next week. Kind of the battle of the broad. It's you kind of pair Philadelphia with the name of Broad Street Bullies, taking on the New Age Nighthawks. It seems like.
I like that. The New Age Nighthawks.
I like it. It's pretty.
Like it. There's an
That's
ad
a fire
campaign in there
name.
somewhere.
And
Fire
not to mention that Rochester goes 5-5 in the end of the second quarter, at the second quarter going into the third quarter. And obviously what's going to be the biggest part of it all, and I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning, is keeping those runs and staying on those runs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, if you're Rochester, you want to go on another 5-6 goal run against Philadelphia as quickly as you possibly can. But I mean, Philadelphia knows that they have to get in down low. They have to contest almost every shot. And like you said, Gary, they gotta have to figure out how to cover players like Williams, like Fields, like Launchbury, like Winters.
Yeah, and it's just so many. And once you cover 2 or 3, you still got 2 or 3 available, which is wild.
Waters.
This is
100% healthy.
We haven't even talked about Zed Williams.
We haven't talked about Williams.
I just mentioned,
Yeah, I guess you did mention Williams. Yeah, but I mean,
like,
it's
no goals for Williams, no points for Williams, but
he can go off at any minute. Like,
picking up 4 shots, 4 loose balls. And he did turn it over twice, but 4 shots and 4 loose balls is a great start. I think he has to kind of settle in. He kind of.
But he draws so much attention that even when he's not doing something, he's doing something.
there's something, yeah.
Because we're not paying attention to the others, and there off goes Smith, off goes Fields, off goes Lansbury, off goes Waters, and it goes on and on and on.
And if they're focusing on Williams, or in a way, focusing on Fields, then you're going to leave McConvey open for a 9-point night.
Yeah.
You're going to leave Smith open for a 7-point night.
Right. And
Just imagine what starts to happen once Williams starts to put points in those columns.
Yeah. Like I say, Rochester is the real deal. Rochester and Halifax, in my eyes, are the 2 most complete teams in the league as we speak right now. Whether that's a popular comment, sorry, Banditland, but I think those are the 2 most complete teams if they can stay healthy.
And
and I've seen for the past few years just covering this team, Connor Fields could be a one-man wrecking crew.
Mm-hmm.
Very skilled. He could do whatever he wants with the ball. this is, like you guys were just mentioning at the top, this is going to probably be Philly's biggest challenge because one thing, Rochester has been a thorn to this team for quite some time now. And, like you guys mentioned, the goaltending, Ryan Hartley, it's just, just unbelievable between the pipes. And then you got Connor Fields, who could be, like I said, a one-man wrecking crew. And he'll do it. If he's got possessed, he sees an opening, he will, strike blood. He'll draw blood from this team quickly. Philly's just going to have to be on their A game. They're going to have to bring their physicality like they did last week. But most importantly, you're going to need someone to answer the call and trying to find hat tricks and all that other stuff. So you're going to have to match firepower for firepower, and I don't know if Philly can do that. So just going to stick to their game.
And here's another thing, and we mentioned Hartley, but I don't even think we mentioned really how good Hartley was. Is that San Diego outshot Rochester, and he still made more saves than Rochester put up shots. 58 saves for Hartley.
Wow.
That's insane, right?
Yeah.
So our number 1 and number 2 goalies are facing each other next week because Demuth had 50 some odd saves also. In his
Yeah, and he made more saves than the Wings had shots. The Wings only had 42 shots.
It's
They got outshot 59-42. So it almost feels like this might need to be the Wings' MO is keeping games tight, defensive, low scoring, but at the same time, their offense needs to start taking a few more shots.
Yeah.
Now, I won't fault them if they're using up every second they can of a 30-second shot clock and making sure that they get a high percentage shot at the end of that clock.
True, and I did mention, I did make a I raised a couple eyebrows in that post game interview. I said and I spoke amongst the other reporters. I said, do you guys think that this team runs smoother without Mitch Jones? And it did raise a couple eyebrows, I'm not gonna lie, but that's going to be tested definitely next week.
Well, yeah, but I also made the comment in our pick'ems is that this was a game where Brennan O'Neill and Ressa Terrence could actually find that chemistry that's going to be needed throughout the year. And it looked as though we mentioned Brennan O'Neill started looking comfortable. I think it's because the role that he has to take on now that Mitch Jones isn't there is a bigger role. And he has to be that first round overall pick, not just banana number 3.
I'd say it's Mitch Jones and it's Blaze.
I'm gonna add to it.
Blaze wasn't in the lineup much last year either, right?
I'll tell you.
No, but he's probably out long term.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you. I think for me, who's going to be that primary scorer too? It's going to be Eric Fennell. I saw a lot from his game. Like you said, get himself in open areas. Hitting spin moves, being very creative. I think he could be that number 1, scoring option for Philly for what they have. Like I said, it's going to be between those 3, Joe, Brandon O'Neill, and it could be Eric.
It's a pretty intense guy, Eddie. Pretty intense guy.
Yes.
I didn't have the pleasure of really talking with Eric as much, but when I talked with Clarky at the Albany press conference, he was ecstatic about getting a guy like him. So he just feels like a perfect fit for Philadelphia MO, for the city of Philadelphia, using his body to get close in, make people pay for coming into his space, and not only can he get those down low shots using his body, like he's not afraid to use his body like that, but he has a good shot too.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to come in to be that extra space for Simmons and for Dyson getting ready, and it just didn't work out in Albany. And I agree with Pat. I think that could be really, really work out in Philadelphia.
Yeah, and I think it's a situation where I'm not sure I completely agree with Pat that he's going to be the number 1 on that side, but this is the perfect situation for him to have a career year.
Yeah.
It may
I was
not
gonna
be
say, I
a
don't think he's the number one guy,
scorer's
but it might
year,
be that
but
guy
it will
that
be
goes
a
under the radar, right?
career year for him.
Yeah.
He will put up his best numbers to date in his career. This is the perfect kind of situation for that to happen.
Yeah, I
Like,
was gonna say, it's
and-
like I don't think he's like necessarily that number one guy, but he's probably gonna be that forgotten guy that defense is gonna forget about, and all of a sudden he's putting balls in the back of the net.
Yeah.
He's
Suddenly
the
you're
guy
going to
that-
see 30 and 60 for 90 points, and you're going to go, whoa, what happened here? Why don't we know about this?
Yeah.
He's gonna be the guy that's gonna be we have to cover Brendan O'Neill. You're leaving Eric Fennell wide open. That's
Yeah,
what he's gonna
exactly.
turn into.
Yeah.
Because teams
And-
know that without Mitch Jones, Brendan O'Neill is gonna have to turn into that number one scoring option, obviously behind Resetaris. And once teams start putting lockdown on O'Neill, that leaves Fennell wide open. And like you said, Mike, he can go easily for 30 and 60 at 90 points.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, another person who we haven't mentioned yet. How about Sam McClare with 5 assists? I mean, he kind of was another one was just was contributing with facilitating the ball well. I mean, another one who's helping finding guys get open. But like you guys are just mentioned, though, going back to square one here, this team's going to be tough because when you have to lock down play Joe Restirance or Blade, somebody. Now Michael Sowers, when he gets back, it's going to be, the team's going to be all over the place as far as scoring options. And then you got the secondary guys, the Phil Caputos and all those guys. Guys are going to be able to get down there and be aggressive and try to help this out to try and, get on the scoreboard as well. So, like I said, the scoring's going to, we'll see what happens. This is definitely the land of opportunity for other guys to step up and want to take the next step forward.
I gotta say that even though Albany did leave, I'm still glad to get to have fisticuffs with Pat here.
Yes. Yes.
Put him up, here, Bucko!
Got my mouthpiece ready.
I'm telling you, it's gonna be a fight to the death with these guys, man.
I would love to see the gloves get dropped next week. I mean, it kind of feels like the MO of the teams. The physicality is definitely going to be there. Anytime any team from New York plays a team from Philadelphia, there just seems like there's extra bad blood, and that goes for any sport.
Yes. I love it. I love, me and Scott were talking about, we did the post game for Philly and New York, and that was, between the Union and NYCFC. I mean, it doesn't matter what sport it is. I mean, Broad Street meets Broadway, and it's always it's never pretty. It's the you could take that record book, throw it out the window because there's always going to be that dogfight, and it's always going to get chippy. It's going to get ugly. This is the kind of stuff you live for. You know what I mean? I get thrilled with that kind of stuff.
I always love any Philadelphia New York game because that's going to be a battle to the end, and it's going to stay close.
Yes.
Whether it was Albany, whether it's Rochester, whether it's you go to Yankees, Phillies, Mets, Phillies, Rangers, Flyers, and Rangers, like any of those New York versus Philadelphia, Pennsylvania teams is just going to be a battle to the end.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a tough, tall order for the Wings next week. It's going to, like we just mentioned, it's going to get chippy. It's going to get ugly out there. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what this team looks like on the road too, as well. Can they bring the same kind of energy and physicality up to New York? And it's New York's going to match it. Rochester's going to match it, no problem. So it's going to be a great game, though.
Absolutely. Well, Pat, as always, appreciate it, and look forward to
always good.
Look forward to your take on this next week.
Gents,
And,
you know me, I love dicing up with you guys. This to me, it's like a jacuzzi. We're all hanging out, having a good time. All we need is a smoke and a pancake. But anyway, guys,
A couple of wins in the pickup wouldn't hurt either, right?
I got 2 wins this week. I was shocked.
Like I said, Pat, it's so much more impressive to get 1 to 2 wins than it is to get these high. I think we did way more impressive than these winners. So-called winners.
Yeah, that's something we can agree on.
I'm still smart from Saskatchewan. Never mind.
I was like, Buffalo lost, Philly lost. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I stunk this week. Terrible. Terrible. But all right, Jim.
Next week's another week, so don't worry. We're gonna be doing this for many more weeks.
But I will again. I gotta say thank you to you guys again. I had people messaging me through Messenger, hit me up like, "Hey, where are you at? Can I meet you and all that stuff?" Brian hit me up. A couple of fans of the program hit me up wanting to take photos and stuff. I said, it's pretty decent. I'm like, someone wants to hang out with me other than my kids. I said, it's pretty awesome. You know what I mean?
And kids are just because it's the ride. You got the ride.
Yeah. That's true. Very true. The wife can't wait for me to get out the door, let alone. So, but listen, guys, stay safe, stay positive, and let's go. I'm not going to say go Wings because I don't start up the rivalry. Just
the pod just yet.
Well, the Wings nest still lives, right? So.
Yes. So, guys,
where's that gone?
Yes.
Oh, it's here. Don't worry, I got him.
Oh, there it is.
There you go. Yeah.
That is Bernard Gong. But we didn't hear this coming from the halls of Wells Fargo.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
That would have been Paul Day. But they won, so we didn't have to hear that.
They did win. I sold Paul Day in passing on Saturday. Very pleased. He had a very pleased look on his face, as he should, with the performance from his team. So all good things have happened, and I got some breaking news too. I want to save for the show. I've been allowed. I guess after interviews. I know Saturday I was in a rush because I did 21 hours of snowplowing. But anyway, I got the green light to start doing Wings post game shows from Lauren herself. So
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I could be up in the box and giving some delivers to all across all the time. So I said, you guys mind if I start doing that? They said, not at all. Go for it. So I got the green light, and I want to see what I can start doing the next time on the 9th, especially from the Wings Nest up there. So
nice.
Yeah, so can't wait to get that going too. So guys, enjoy your night, and I'll talk to you later.
We'll see you next week, Pat. Have a great week.
Yeah, you too. Go Wings.
Notice he says getting out the door.
Icky. Ew. Gross. Ew.
Well, I had a good week there, with Toronto, Calgary, and it didn't look that way to start. I started seeing old habits form, and I wasn't too thrilled with that. First of all, I get into the newly renovated TD Coliseum, which, by the way, why did things have to be black? Everything black in there. It looks like I walked into a cave. And, whole different setup, whole different thing. There's a lot of kind of weird things. I didn't find any of the Rock banners, so I'm hoping it's just because they're not quite finished yet. Because that was one of the things that was the selling point, was the Rock could have their banners up all the time in this arena. Now, none of them are up. Anyways, I digress. Out they come. And very quickly, a name you'll hear a lot in this game, Tanner Cook. He scores, followed by a shorty from Noah Manning. And really, there was not much for the home faithful to cheer about until, lo and behold, 50 seconds left in the first quarter, when Josh Dalwick converts with an absolute outside howitzer off an Owen Hiltz pass that caught the corner, and it was 2-1. But not to be outdone, less than 30 seconds later, Noah Manning, another name you hear a lot, comes in and 3-1 at the end of one. Brett Leady, he makes 4-1, and it's like, what's going on? A lot of outside shooting, a lot of missed nets. Does this sound familiar, guys?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It just doesn't seem to matter who's there and who's coaching. It just happens. CJ Kirst, he gets one from inside off a Challen Rogers pass. Josh Tolwick gets his second of the night, and it's 4-3 all of a sudden. And though it hasn't been their best game to point, they're within a goal. Well, as the MO of this game, on a power play, Riley Lowen scores, followed by Hayden Dixon into 6-3 again. Chris Boucher gets one with just 1:08 left in the half, and it brings it to 6-4. And again, for a quarter or for a half that they really didn't play terrific, they're only down by 2, which to me makes things enthusiastic. We come back into the third, and Sam English scores his first NLL goal, and it's 6-5. But as the MO of this game, here's Tanner Cook, and on the power play, it's 7-5. Owen Hiltz makes it 7-6, but then Noah Manning makes it 8-6, and that's how the third quarter ends. Finally, guys, the Rock put it all together. And it starts with there's disallowed goal by Chris Boucher from inside. And all of a sudden, hey, inside works. What inside did was split up the defense a little bit to give them a little more room to do other things. Toronto rhymes off 4 goals in a row in the fourth. Mark Matthews starts it off just a couple of minutes in, making 8-7. Boucher gets one, 8-8. Owen Hiltz gives the Rock their first lead of the game almost 5 minutes into the fourth quarter. Josh Dawick with his third of the night, and it's 10-8 Toronto, and it looks like they're off to the races. But Riley Lowen, he scores a shorty, and it's 10-9. Lowen gets the next one as well to tie the game 10-10. And this is with 3.5 minutes to go in the game, and you're thinking, here we go again. This is another one like the Oshawa game where, with a minute to go, something slides in, and that's the end of that. Well, with 2 minutes to go, Chris Boucher, who's already had 2 goals called off in this game, he converts a Josh Dawick pass, and it's 11-10. A frantic last couple of minutes from both sides, but the Rock are able to hold on for the 11-10 victory. Now, a couple of things that are concerning. Number one, with no TD Erlin in the lineup, the face-offs a wee bit lopsided at 20-5 in favor of Calgary. The power play, Toronto went 0 for 4, but worse than that, Calgary went 2 for 3 and scored 2 shorthanded goals. That's death. If you're starting going against the teams like Rochester, like Buffalo, like Vancouver, like Las Vegas, I can keep going if you'd like. That's not a good sign. Toronto did outshoot Calgary 53-48, but that's lopsided in my eyes too, since a lot of those shots are from the outside. However, when they did start going inside, they were successful. And one of the things that I loved, and I can't say it enough, Elijah Gash's game, I love it. I love it. I don't see him out of position very often, if at all. He basically drove Braden Maya into the ground and left them there in the ground. Now, Braden Maya is like David and Goliath against Elijah Gash. But to his credit, not only after that little beating did he get up, but he assisted on the next goal. So I give kudos to Braden for absolutely having the fortitude just to keep doing his thing. But, a win's a win. Isn't that what we're talking about? A win's a win. And talking to the guys after the game, you could see that they were happy. I like the team makeup because this team does everything for everybody. This is a unified Toronto team. And it's going to take a little bit of time for Sam English, for Owen Hiltz, for CJ Kirst, and the rest of the guys to mesh with them and work in concert where they all know where everybody is at all times. When you look at Josh Dawick and you look at Chris Boucher, they know where each other is at every given moment. Without looking, they've done it so often that, the Matthews to Dawick to Boucher pass to the goal from behind the net is almost automatic. And it happens so quickly that this is down to a science. But look at some of the other guys on there, the Hugh Kelleher's, who are doing all the little things. Mm-hmm. They are going to be a very, very good team, and in not the too distant future. And I'm very enthused about that. And they have the outside shooting, but they also have the ability inside. And probably the best release of all this talented offense is Owen Hiltz. He can shoot from anywhere with absolute lightning speed. And he had a couple of posts, missed the net by a couple of inches here and there. When that gets all ironed out, he's going to be a force, just like he was in the PLL, just like he was with Peterborough, the MSL a couple of years ago. And once he's comfortable with everything going on, because remember, he's not the biggest guy on the floor. He's my height. So he is just a freight train, but with the greatest hands. And Josh looks like he's feeling it again. But just to see the smiles on all these guys' faces after the game that's the things that I'm looking for. There's none of the, oh my God, these guys are all on the same page. And I give a lot of credit to Bruce Codd, Dan Dawson, and Matt Sawyer. And they really spent a lot of time to make this a cohesive unit. And that's where I see it on that. On the Calgary side, we were worried about them. I wouldn't worry too much about them. They seem to have figured out their roles. And they're going to be a decent team too. Do I think that they're a contender? No, not yet. But Aiden Walsh looked good for most of that game. Fourth quarter, he had a little bit of a tough time, but it was just the rock pressure and finding ways around that Calgary defense. But that Calgary defense as a whole is a very stalwart unit. And their transition game is good. They can turn it around like this. And you're sitting there flat-footed wondering what just happened. So there's a lot of really good things on these clubs that we don't see in the stat sheets that I was able to really, hone in on while sitting there yesterday. So, I'm pretty enthused on both sides, and I'm really interested to see how it works for both clubs. But I really do think that the Rock have a real opportunity here, if not to contend, to really put a thorn in contenders.
I'm a huge fan of the youth movement that Toronto has embraced. So Sam English, Owen Hiltz, CJ Kirst. It's great to see not them get, the keys to the castle, but they certainly are given the keys to the side door, and they're starting to get trusted. And
when you look at Hoskhauser and the Gash, there's nobody taking liberties. Nobody is taking cheap shots on these guys.
And they know, this is going to be a situation where Toronto will start to look to bring in, once they start to get English, Hiltz, and Kirst down, and they get their skill down, and like you said, they start fine-tuning these pieces of the game, like missing the net or shot selection, playing the ball in the playing the ball to the right player at the right time.
Yep.
It's going to come down to getting the guys to protect them, because that's the franchise. That's the franchise right there. Is Hiltz, English, Kirst. You got
one more English coming in next year as well. We got Sam's brother Ty, who is bigger and faster. So he is first round pick from this year as well. We don't even talk about, hey Shawn, you can attest to this. We don't even talk about Mark Matthews. And he's the center. And he is the center of this. He's he's setting picks. He's setting hard picks, and he's quarterbacking all of what's going on in there. So he's enthused, and he's healthy.
Well,
And
that's
after
the
the
big
game,
one.
the biggest smile at these tables was smart.
Well, that's the big one. Is not so much the quarterbacking. He's done that for a while, but like the setting the picks and stuff like that. I mean, I'll be honest. That's basically why Saskatchewan let him go. Is he almost seemed to lose that enthusiasm. He just didn't seem like he was in the game anymore.
Mhm.
And so to actually see him do that now and put in that extra effort again, I mean, yeah, he's going to be a force to reckon with when he does that. We've seen it. We know it. It's
Well, you
proven.
look at it, right? He had a goal and 3 assists. He had 5 loose balls. Yeah, that to me is, he's doing the extra things now as well. It's
Yeah.
CJ Kurst had 6 loose balls. Tell me he's not feeling it, the feel in the box game.
Yeah.
Another one when I talked to him after the game, love him playing this game, and love him being part of the squad. Hostrauser had 6 loose balls in this game. Latrell Harris had 5. It's to see these guys, and everybody's doing it, right? It's not one guy has 22. If you look up and down the list, Owen Hiltz had the most loose balls with 7. But I told you, he's like a little tank out there. He's also a vacuum cleaner. He had 10 shots on net as well.
I kind of wanted to go to your point too about Calgary there, Gary, because I completely agree with you. I think a lot of us looked at this Calgary team and said, like, where's the scoring going to come from? They look pretty thin. And I mean, right now their goal differential is 4, and 2 of those goals were basically empty net goals. I think the way we're seeing this team now, they might rack up a bunch of losses. I think you're going to see their goal differential. I think you're going to see them losing a lot of games that are just 1 or 2 goal games,
Right.
as they just kind of fine tune where they're at right now and kind of finding that new lineup that they've got going now.
Now we talked about before the season. Noah Manning as a rookie come in. He had 3 goals last night. Riley Lowen had 3 goals last night. Tanner Cook 2 goals, 3 assists. What we really didn't look at was that Braden Maya and Tyler Pace both had 6 assists each in this game. Braden Maya, like, is not a big guy, but boy, can he ever dig things out.
Like, he had a big game in Saskatchewan too. Like, he had a big game in Saskatchewan too. I mean, that's a guy I think we thoroughly underestimated.
I think so. Maya, I'd seen play in Ontario Series last summer. I knew he had a good game. I just didn't know how good it would be in the NLL level. And he can take a beating, as proven. Because, like I say, Elijah just tried to put him through the turf. And he just got up and, ran around, and away you go.
And that can be frustrating for your opponent, right? If you're gash and you're just laying this guy out and constantly laying this guy out and he just keeps getting up, that's going to piss you off. It's like, what do I have to do to stop this guy?
Yeah, we're talking about a player like Matthew Gauthier, who we're expecting. He had 2 assists in this. He really was not visible through most of this game, but he didn't need to be. You had so many other things. Matt Sykes had a great game on defense. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
Big boy. And he's not afraid to use his weight, and even a few transition plays, watching him move up the floor. So everybody is doing all the little things there. But again, Aiden Walsh, he had 42 saves on the night, gave up 11. But I really do think that he is feeling comfortable in this situation in Calgary. And if he's comfortable, his numbers are going to become very, very good. And once they do, they're going to be a very, very strong team.
Well, he's not looking over his shoulder now, right? Because when he was in Vancouver, we all knew that trade was coming for Christian Del Bianco. It's just a matter of when. So he's constantly looking over his shoulder. Okay, when's Christian coming? When's Christian coming? When am I getting pushed out?
Well, yeah. And then it didn't help when you had Connor O'Toole drafted just after him as the next big thing. It kind of sets it on the wall that where do I fit in?
Yeah.
Well, you don't. So yeah, he's able to take a breath now and actually make it work. Caden, I know that you are busy covering news and doing other things. So if you have to escape to go catch the local fire or whatever's going on,
The news
by
cycle
all
never
means,
sleeps.
the news cycle never sleeps. And in Albany,
News
I
cycle
know it
never
goes
sleeps.
even further than that. So, I'm sure somebody was over by the Capitol, and we have to tell the people about it.
Oh, can't even explain what happened to VJ2.
I'm so happy for you. I am so happy that you've landed a producer's job there. You're going to do great. But we're happy to have you back with us as always, and look forward to your reports again next week.
Yep, I'm excited to get back into the flow of it. Want to say thanks. Brian said something earlier. I want to say thank you to Brian as well. Thank you guys. Wouldn't be there without what I've done here. It's a growth system, and it's all growth, and I'm glad to have made my start with all lacrosse and keep it going.
Absolutely, and your chair is always here.
Have a good night, guys.
Take care, Caden. We'll see you next week. Everybody's got all this news. I might as well let some news out in there. And I know you guys knew this one, but I am part of the board of directors for Ontario Series Lacrosse now. I am their director of media. So I'm getting jealous. Everybody has all this news. Let's come in there too. Also, NLL Lacrosse Talk. This week, we have Graham Bergsma on the show. And he's had a storied career, as well as being part of player personnel for the Arena Lacrosse League. So it should be an interesting interview this week. We're off for Christmas the following week, but are you ready for this? How do you start the new year, guys? You start the new year, instead of on January 1st, you started on January the 2nd on the Friday. And I hope you clear out the 4 o'clock time slot for that hour, because my guest on January 2nd is none other than Kristen Del Bianco.
All right.
That'll be a good one.
Excellent.
Set your alarms for that one. It's going to be a good interview. Number of good ones lined up for the new year. It's going to be a slam bammer for Frank and I, and looking forward to having some great guests coming on. It's starting off to be just a okay year, man. But let's keep moving here. Another one of these games that was circled on my calendar was over in Banditland. And I said it last week that I think that Halifax is the most complete team in this league right now. And the litmus test would be when they, because they absolutely dismantled Oshawa, but when they fit themselves against Buffalo, and to see what they were up against. Remember, to beat a man, you got to beat the man, right? That's the old adage. And, they went into Banditland. And, how did that turn out, Mike?
Yeah, well, they came out with a win, 9-8. Did require a little bit of overtime, not much.
Very little. Very little overtime.
Yeah, Clark Peterson with the game winner. Well, his second game winner, if you will. He appeared to score at the end of regulation, but the clock hit 0-0 before that ball went in the net.
But if we ever make it a 60-02 game, he's got that bid on.
Yeah, well, this ended up being a 60-26 game, and that's all Peterson needed to basically get the ball and score again immediately after scoring a goal that didn't count before.
But what a goal! Just to talk about that overtime goal, he went through the entire defense. And as John Gertler put it, he had nothing but New York State Thruway in front of him. And with a fake and then a short side move, this game was over.
Yeah, that was definitely impressive. Halifax had a game plan for overtime.
Didn't look so good to start with, though, did it?
Yeah, the big numbers that stand out to me, much like Philly against Colorado, Halifax got outshot 53-40, but managed to win this game. They only went 1 for 4 on the power play. Buffalo went 3 for 5. Jake Withers did win the face-off battle with Connor Farrell. 13 of 21 for Halifax to Buffalo's 8 face-off wins. Big first half for Dawson Theed. He got things started off for Halifax with a big power play goal. Added a second in the second quarter. 6-4 at the half for Buffalo, but they the Thunderbirds clawed their way back in. Despite Dane Smith having a pretty big game with 3 goals, including power play goal. But Peterson at the end was kind of the man of the night. Cody Jamieson gave Halifax an 8-7 lead with about a little over 6.5 minutes left in the game.
That was another hell of a shot, eh? A bounce shot that bounced right up into the top corner. That was incredible. Timing.
Yeah.
Timing.
Yeah, but I still question whether, at the risk of irritating Banditland here, I still question whether Matt Vince is struggling a little bit with this new rule that got, that's being enforced this year, where you cannot
He gave up
have
9 goals. It's hard to say that he's having a tough time when he only gave up 9 goals and 1's in overtime. So 8 in regulation.
It is, but I guess I'm looking at it more as just the adjustment of not having these guys.
I think it's more their defense really it doesn't know where to
your
be
left
on the floor.
to your right and in the crease and able to block shots.
But I say, isn't more their defense doesn't know where to be?
Maybe.
Because they're in different spots than they're used to being, and they're not all in tight. So there's actually room in the center, which is where they're getting scored on. But I do agree with the outside stuff that their defense would be soaking, are catching corners with Matt Vince. So that is true. So there's some strange goals that we're watching that we haven't seen in a couple of years go in. And you only need 1 or 2 apparently here. The parity is so strong that it only takes one little gaffe that you're expecting or used to something happening where it's not now.
Yeah, I mean, I just look at it as, Buffalo's kind of got to play defense the same way as everyone else now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And some time's going to be needed to make those adjustments.
Now, as the season wears on with Buffalo and the inevitable injuries happen, do they have enough horsepower to withstand and, really vie for that 4B? I know we talked about it until we're blue in the face. We talked about that. Really, I'm not talking about that. That's not about age that I'm talking about. It's about depth.
But we've been talking about. I feel like we've been talking about that for 3-4 straight years now, and they seem to find a way to defy those odds and come out on the other side with holding up the cup.
Right.
I'm more curious if you get more of like a Dane Smith that goes down, like a real big piece of your puzzle. What kind of Bandit team you're going to be looking at? Even again, we brought up before, Matt Vince. If he goes down, it could make for a long season for Buffalo.
Did we expect more from the Mike Triolo than what he's been able to achieve? I know he didn't play the last game, but this game here, he had 1 assist, 3 loose balls, 1 turnover. Are we expecting more from him, or is this what we're basically in the Bandit offense seeing and expecting from him?
I mean, I feel like that's going to be like, not that he was just a role player in Saskatchewan. I think it's going to go to kind of, I want to make sure I word this correctly. We talked about when he was with Saskatchewan, how it almost seemed like he finally had someone in Derek Keenan or Jimmy Quinlan or both of them, who knew how to utilize him in their offense. I mean, I'd like to think that a lacrosse line, a great lacrosse mind like John Tavares could figure out how to utilize him properly in their offense. But either way, it's still going to take, I think, at least a few games to get into that.
Because we're not seeing a whole lot of production out of Nanticoke either. Take away the silly goal last week or the week, whatever, last game. And really, we haven't seen all that much from him, though he's out there and he's creating a lot of havoc. But to have him on one side and Trierlo on the other side, basically doing the same thing on either side, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's where I'm seeing, like where Mike was mentioning. He mentioned the word role play, and I think that's almost where Trierlo's fitting in with Buffalo, where Saskatchewan, they gave him a purpose. Like he had a chance to get the ball on his stick and score, where he's just become a role player now in Buffalo.
That seems to be the Buffalo thing now, though, right? Because Benesh seems to be your power play scorer. Him as well as Dane Smith and Josh Byrne. Ron John, he's your transition guy. He's in there for certain things or when he's in the lineup. Nanticoke from in close, Trierlo is now doing that same thing, which is double the effort for, only one ball, right? So I'm curious, is that the right move for him? Because you also have Ian McKay out there too, right? Who's also been lighting it up for the last year and a half. Right?
That's a little unfortunate because he was kind of given a chance in Saskatchewan, showed what he could do. He gets traded to Buffalo, and Buffalo just this is what you're doing.
Because we don't even talk about Kyle Buchanan now, whose role is diminished also in this particular offense.
I guess I was saying Buffalo, he goes to Buffalo and is like, well, your role's no longer to, score goals. We just need you to do other things.
I just find it curious. I don't know if it'll work in, shall we say, down the long run. And again, this is what we're talking about, Mike, is as this team goes further down the thing, if they don't use everybody all the time now, do they have these pieces available to them later on without having to go into their practice squad and just change their roles? Are they able to? Are they versatile enough to do that?
I'd be concerned about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why I go back to, if a Dane Smith goes down, I don't think you have someone who can step in and fill that role.
Right.
I just don't.
Yeah, Josh Byrne, who has been notorious for going down with injury at some point during the year. Matt Spangers is still out. Matisse is just back. But again, this is a lineup that the bye weeks come in very handy for them because it is an older lineup, and even the Bandits media does the same thing, right? That they can take a rest and get healed up for the next one and whatever. It's every second game, every second week. So, that's just inevitable, because everybody's gunning for them. It's one thing that if you're on the cusp of doing something, it's another thing when you've won 3 in a row. Everybody's gunning for you. And every game that you play, this is the Champions Cup for the other team to come in and knock you off at home. So every single game, you have to be on there, and everybody's giving you the A game. Yep. Thanks, Michelle. That's Mom. A little biased, right? Great to have you with us, though. Love it. But yeah, that's just my contention there with the Bandits is that everybody's gunning for them at every given point. And we saw it with Halifax last night. That was one chippy start to a game. And Halifax was going completely against what I said in my pick'em, is they have to stay out of the box if they're going to win. Well, the second half they stayed out of the box, and that's when they started moving forward. But man, they came out there frothing. And again, we're taking stupid penalties. Buffalo made them pay every time they took a penalty.
Yeah.
Until a Kersey or Montour or somebody got a hold of him going, hey, enough. Play. We can't be doing this and being shorthanded for, 8-10 minutes of a half. That's just killing ourselves. So, and then you get someone like Peterson who gets fired, and there's so much talent there that if they just play, none of the other goofy stuff that's hurt them in years past, this is going to be a hell of a team. And how about King of the Hill?
Or
there's one
Surgeons
thing.
for hitting, hey?
Wow. Last week we're talking about it with the 2-goal performance. I think this was more impressive than the 2-goal performance, to tell you the truth. You shut down the world champions. And he had to come up with some huge saves in that second half in order this thing goes to overtime.
And remember the conversations we were having last year? Oh, is Hill still the guy? Is he done? Should he be replaced?
We were even coming up with, Hutchison needs to be taking the role and they need to switch it. I don't think we have that conversation this year. Not yet.
No, not at all.
But he's got the right mentality too. I was lucky enough to interview him, and it's just, he's that guy. He's just very modest and often ducks back. And he's business. But he's got the right mentality for this, where he can just shake it off and get back to work. Or it's not something that lingers and becomes a phobia, which has killed a lot of goalies over the years.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I even think back to him playing, it's the field championships in San Diego, and he stopped this shot from, I was on the sidelines where a guy from England just fired this cannon at him. He stops it and he just starts laughing. Like, how disheartening is that for your shooter? You just fired just an absolute bullet, and he just and he played that down too. So I was just so amazed I caught it. But yeah, that's just the mentality, and that's what you need. But he's looked sensational.
Yeah,
he's one of about 5 goalies, I think, so far that have been, and it's Hartley's looked fantastic. Hill's looked fantastic. Jameson, for the most part, has looked really good. Had a little bit of a rough one last week. There's a couple others. Say Walsh looked pretty good in both games, where I don't think it's on him why the team lost. I think there were some breakdowns defensively in both of those losses, because I didn't see any cheap ones really go in. He got beat, right? So there's a few of them that just rise to the next level. Now we're going to get into the other game with Oshawa and Georgia. And this is the game that I expected Dobson to play against Buffalo. Shawn, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, even when we looked at this Georgia team against Buffalo, we could see flashes, right? Like, we could see potential there, and I think we finally saw that come out in this game. And like you mentioned, with Dobson, like, we know he's a better goaltender than what we saw against Buffalo. And again, we saw him come out again and play the way we know he can play.
Yeah, absolutely. This game, again, not a huge scoring game, but there were a lot of pieces in there. Now, do we get worried about Oshawa? Because we look at all 3 of their games. They snuck one by Toronto, in which they got badly outshot. They got beaten like a drum against Halifax, and they only scored 5 goals against Georgia. do we start worrying about this team? Let
Absolutely.
alone they went 0 for 5 on the power play, Mike. That enigma
over 5 on the
back.
power play, and you know the first goal they scored with Alex Simmons, that drought. If you go back to the Halifax game, that drought was over 67 minutes. That's a full game and almost half an overtime period that you did not score.
And 3 of your 5 goals came from Alex Simmons. Where's your secondary scoring? Where's his help?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where's, Dyson Williams, no points. Ethan Walker, no points. Kurtz had a goal and an assist.
You can go up and down the list here, really. Ty Kurtz, a goal and an assist, yeah. But really, you need more out of him because he's setting it all up. Taggart Clark, 1 assist. That's not going to do it. The one that Caden was big on, of course, Nick Tchaikovsky. 2 shots on net. Not scoring many goals that way.
Yep.
Granted transitionally, but still. They've been known for their transition. Colton Watkinson being a key component in that one. He had 1 assist throughout the night. Now, you're telling me that the Georgia defense is so strong and so stifling that none of these guys can get open, get free, get moving? Or are we looking at other problems in here?
I feel like I don't know. I mean, we've seen that Albany / Oshawa has that firepower, and it can beat good defenses.
Well, this
so
is
I think there's got to be a bigger problem there. And I look at you mentioned Dyson Williams. He had 10 shots on net and no points. That's concerning to me.
Yeah. But the other thing too, like I said, they've had 15 goals all year. That's frightening. That's 3 games. That's 1 good game for most of these teams in the NLL.
Yeah.
And if we take a look at what they're, if we want to take a look at the stats and take a look what their power play percentage is for the year. Oh boy.
That's bad. We saw Vancouver and Rochester put up 15 goals in their games this weekend.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my question is, what to do to turn around? This is a team that made it to the finals 2 years ago, and it hasn't really changed.
And in that year, in a regular season game, they put 17 on Buffalo and Matt Vince. 17 in a win in Banditland, no less.
Well, last year, didn't they take Toronto to the woodshed in game number 2? They put up 15 or 16 against Toronto, in which their offense wasn't working, but their defense still was solid. And this is wild. And I really don't know where to put it because, again, there's so much talent there, but it's not clicking. And it hasn't really changed over. And the additions, you can't really say are the reasons why things aren't working, because you put in quality players that have, longevity of being able to work with different squads. So I'm a little bit perplexed on what the problem is. We've known the power play has been a problem. That's been for the last 3 years, 4 years.
Even when they went to the championship, that was a problem.
Yeah, that's the one thing we were talking about. Of the one bit of kryptonite is their power play. You almost maybe want it like in football and decline the penalty. But here, this is astounding with this kind of firepower. And I would like to have Caden here still to discuss it, because who knows this team better than he does. And to go through why they're having very, very little output. Because it doesn't matter how good your defense is. If you're only scoring 5 goals, you're not winning any games. If you're only scoring 2 goals, you're definitely not winning any games.
Yeah.
Even if you're scoring 8 goals, you won the game, but man, I would say 80% of the time you're on the losing end because of that. Not exactly the best way to start out in a new city either, right? It's going to get old fast if it's if they're going to be 1-6, 1-8. Who do they have?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
They have Vancouver next
they may
week.
need,
You
they
think
may
that-
have to
at
rely
home, you think that's gonna be a good
on
one?
those home games. Yeah, let's not.
Like I say, you have
Let's
Vancouver
not-
next week at home, and you're going against Del Bianco. You think that's going to be any easier?
Oh, not even.
No, it's not. But I do want to put it in perspective.
Watch, they score 17 next game. Watch.
They're the only team to have played each of the first 3 weeks.
Right.
Now they're going to be the only team to have played each of the first 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2 losses were road games. So,
Right.
I mean, if there's any sort of silver lining here, it's, you won your first game at home. Yeah, you're at home again. Yeah, it's against, a tough Vancouver team. But, we saw some upsets this week that
Yep.
kind of.
My
Yeah.
question also is for the attendance because, the home floor advantage. The way it was situated in Toronto, and this one again blew my mind, is it looked a lot fuller than what the numbers was. It was 5,700 in Toronto or in Hamilton. That's the same crowd that's was Paramount. And what were we saying? Well, the only reason is because it only so this place seats 18,000 people. They had 5,700. So right away you've seen the difference because it was 8 to 10,000 before they went for renovations. Right? Sometimes even as much as 12. And you can see that the Oshawa thing is it's a legitimate concern of Jamie that this is eating into his profit margin, if there is a profit margin. Now, their first game was a sold-out crowd, but it was against Toronto. It's a 20-minute drive for most of us to get there. In traffic, that's an hour. But you know what I mean. This time is Vancouver. Now, you don't even have the benefit, because most of these guys are from out west, of having local kids, local guys on the opposing team. So you even tap into that. So I'm very curious to see what the attendance is going to be in this game, if it's going to be as big, or is it going to be half? Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's a good point, Gary. And like you said, when they played Toronto, you saw a lot of Rock jerseys there, and you just wonder if it's a lot of Rock jerseys because they don't have their Oshawa merchandise yet, and they were Rock fans before, or where that lands. And if it is half, because that is a small arena, that'll be very concerning. Very concerning.
It's not a good deploy when you're 1-2 right now, but if you go down 1-3, 1-4, that's not a good selling point. That's what when I had Rad Joseph on the other show, and of course he has season tickets in Ottawa because he's in the Ottawa area, and because it's in Canada and it's not in Ottawa proper, you're not going to have a walk-up crowd. Oshawa's right downtown, so you can get a walk-up crowd. But if you go 1-4, 1-5. Just like the Ottawa Senators in hockey, if they're not winning, they're not drawing. That becomes a problem. So I'm very curious to see the attendance on Friday. And I hope to heaven that this is going to be a full house or a near full house. With there's plenty of lacrosse people in that area. So it's just about, hopefully the weather's fine and everybody's going. Because I know it's affordable there. Gosh, I know it's a lot more affordable than the Hamilton one now because those prices got jacked. Even parking doubled.
That's what I was supposed to play a little bit of devil's advocate, kind of looking at kind of a similar scenario out west with Vancouver. First of all, I mean, the Langley thing was a bit of a disaster to begin with. But again, there's plenty of lacrosse out there, plenty of lacrosse people out there. they didn't draw crowds. Even when they initially moved to downtown Vancouver, again, a lacrosse hotbed out west, and they just weren't drawing crowds. So it's very well possible.
Yep. Now, did that come down to marketing?
Very well could have been.
Don't know there's a game, or is it something else? I'd like to think it's marketing because I don't see a whole lot of anything anywhere for it. Now, I know that they marketed that first game left, right, and center. They had to sell it. Makes perfect sense. People knew when the game was. People were excited about this new thing. But they need to put that kind of effort for an era game. And if you need to bite the bullet a little bit to give cheaper tickets in that first year to hook people, then, take the bath the first year to hook them long term. And like I've always said, market to the kids. So they bring the parents and the grandparents and the uncles and the aunts and the brothers and the sisters. So you sell more than one ticket per family. We're in a different era than Mill. And we can't use the same tired thoughts to do things. And this is where, and we all love it that it's on all these different aspects on NLL Plus, that it's on TSN or ESPN Plus, and it's on linear at times here and there. And love it. And all the Bandits games are on and all this is, but do you think it has the same problem that some of the teams in MSL were complaining about, is that if people can watch it at home, they're not coming? I know that it's a swaying point that if the weather is going to be inclement, you're not so apt to want to get out into the road when it's on television, correct?
And that's a tough one because you don't really want to take it off television either.
No, because you need that exposure as a marketing tool.
Yeah.
So it's a fine line that we're traveling. But, again, there has to be something somewhere. Because not always has every hockey game been sold out. In fact, there's been many of them in many cities, hence teams moving all over the place.
And it's a little bit hard to compare, like, say, the NHL because they have the TV deals, they're not really a gate-driven league, right?
That's the other thing, too. NBA, NFL, NHL, because of massive TV deals. But it wasn't always that way. NLL, again, Jamie said it best on that interview on Lax Class, right? We think it's a big deal that we got 40,000 to 100,000, but that's not enough to make any television executive raise even an eyebrow. We need to get bigger numbers, and we need to find a way that bigger numbers are viewing this in order to get that TV deal, in order that, it becomes not a gate-driven league. We'd like to think that we're past the, you own a team, you throw down a carpet, open up the doors, and hope that somebody comes. But at times I'm thinking, we still rely on the old methodology. And maybe we need to break away from that a little bit. But again, to get back to the point, I'm very curious for Friday night to see what kind of crowd. Who knows? Maybe this is all, just in my imagination. And they get 5,000 or 5,500 and all's good with the world. And maybe it's just because a lot of Rock fans knew that the Rock was coming, that they were able to purchase tickets. And other people who wanted to come couldn't. So I'll be curious to watch Ticketmaster and see what the available tickets are to see. And that's going to be a very interesting thing to kind of capitulate this week and see exactly how to drive and to see how they're marketing to it. Because we saw all this stuff through the summer and right up through training camp and everything else, but I'm not seeing a ton now. We're only a couple of weeks in the season. Now, the other thing also is it's Christmas. So you have people traveling. You have all kinds of other events going on between work parties and other things going on, people having people over and whatever. And you're being pulled in 42 different directions. So again, that kind of plays into my thing. Should we have games in and around Christmas? Like the NLL has tailored it back. Like, yeah, we had a big week this week, but we only had 2 games last week, only 4 games next week, right? And that takes us through past Christmas. So should we be starting in January, like before, and have less bye weeks? Mike, what do you think?
I mean, it would be nice, but I think there's the factor too of having to compete with PLL, even though they're not active right now. I mean, pretty soon they're going to start hyping up their championship series in February.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then once you get head into playoffs, now you are starting to butt up against the PLL season, right? And,
let alone MSL and WLA, right?
And, we talk about expansion. If you're bringing in more teams, you're eventually going to have to push the schedule back again, and then you're going to have the whole problem all over again. You're going to have more games.
I don't know what I really, honestly, it's a question out there because I don't know the answer to this. And I think that it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, some would column C, and maybe even some would column D. But you need people to, be full-time at trying to figure out what the formula is. Because each market's going to be different. What works in San Diego is not going to work in Toronto. What works in Vancouver is certainly not going to work in Georgia. So even what works in Calgary is not going to work in Saskatchewan. Just because of your fan base and the needs of what's going on in there. So it's a delicate balance. So there's a lot of different things that are more than just, all right, we're going to try and sell some tickets and have some players play. And we've been rested on the laurels for the longest time that it's a part-time league and these guys have other jobs and, it's, great part-time money. But if they're trying to become the fourth sport, then it's put up, shut up, right?
No.
Right.
All right, let's have a look quickly. We talked already about Vancouver and Oshawa. We have Philadelphia, Rochester we mentioned as well, which is going to be a big game for Philadelphia more than anything. Litmus test time to see if that defense can hold against Rochester. I'm sold on that defense. That's what I'm looking at. I don't expect that offense to put up 15 goals. Not the way Hartley's playing. It's another one of those. If he's on, and even if he's not, then you had Hutchcraft back there and another number 1 goalie. So that's gonna be interesting. Shawn, you have Georgia and Saskatchewan at home,
yeah.
And this is a big one, I think, for Saskatchewan.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's simple for Saskatchewan. Play 60 minutes.
Yep.
If you play 60 minutes, you will beat Georgia. You are the better team. But you have to play 60 minutes. No more of this taking fourth quarters off.
Yeah, because it almost cost them week 1, and it did cost them week 2.
Yeah.
Or game 2, sorry. And then we have Ottawa into Vegas. Now, Ottawa looked good in the fourth quarter. They didn't look great in quarter 1, 2, or 3. Vegas, they had a rough one against Vancouver, but Vancouver found it. All the things they were talking about after game 1 that Milowski wasn't happy about, they were able to figure out. So does Vegas...
I think that question mark in goaltending is still there.
Yeah, I don't, as much as I like Landon Kells, I don't think that's the answer. But do you see a better one?
You have Bouquet behind him. Yeah, you have Bouquet behind him. He's a better option.
He played some in the last game, but by that time, he was, 10-3 or something like that already?
Yeah.
Vancouver is scary when they're rolling. So, this Vegas thing, but we also didn't have Chase Fraser wasn't in the lineup, right?
Yeah, he was a late scratch.
So if he's in, it should be an interesting game because if Teet's on, well, we see what he can do.
Saw what we could do, yeah.
But you got Connor Kiernan, Riley O'Connor. You got all these pieces too, and if they're all working and they've been together a long time, and if Higgy is looking good in net,
He did against Saskatchewan. He looked pretty good.
yep, and he was stronger and stronger as that game went on, because easily could have, he shut him out in the fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't do that to a team that's that powerful usually. So this is going to be a little bit more interesting of a game than I would have said when I looked at the schedule, before the season started. And we're only in week 4. And already we got, hey, and scenarios and all kinds of different outside aspects to look at. Is it be all end all? No, we're in week 4. But it certainly does, again, put thoughts in the head of the management of whether they need to stay the course or whether they need to tinker and make changes, or whether they're, are you buyers, sellers, or whatever. And that kind of frame of mind for how you're going to proceed with the season. And I think that's going to be very interesting. And the chess begins. All right. Let's leave it there. I just want to remind everybody that we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're on Twitch, we're on Thread, as well as on www.streampunkentertainment.com. Please visit us 3, 4, 5 times a day, as the news is always changing, and we have our thumbs on the pulse of the situation, and we have the information as quickly as we can, as accurate as can be as well. It is our privilege and our pleasure to give you everything that we can, be in the Costco of Lacrosse, covering everything and everyone in this great sport. That brings us to last words. Mike, let's start with you this week. Last words to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to, I think, the Vancouver Oshawa game. See if Oshawa can bounce back, if they could, if home field can be a help to them.
Mm-hmm.
And Ottawa, can they duplicate against Las Vegas in Vegas's home opener?
Right. Shawn?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at that Ottawa Vegas game too. Just to see, can Ottawa find some consistency? And to that point, is what kind of team do they have in Vegas? Because we've seen all the moves they've made, and yet they got took to the woodshed against a very good Vancouver team. But I think we expected a little bit more out of them. So I'm curious to see if they can come out and show a little bit more against Ottawa. And again, like we've been saying with Saskatchewan, like I want to see this team actually show up and put 60 minutes in, because they are a championship caliber team when they put in a full effort.
Right. Me personally, I'm looking forward to that Rochester and Philadelphia game. I really want to see that Philadelphia defense in that stress test. We talk about stress tests with just about everything else, whether it is worthy. This is that test for the Philadelphia defense. If they can hold off such a juggernaut that they've put together, Dan Carey's put together over in Rochester, and to see how finesseful a team this is and how complete a team is. Is it in my realm of what Halifax is? And the thing that would put them over what I believe Halifax is that they don't take a lot of penalties. Whereas Halifax still has that sense to unravel at times. And until they get over that, I'm not 100% sold, because that rears its ugly head at the most inopportune times, usually, which is playoffs, when push comes to shove and pressure is on. And that's when the composure needs to be there. So if Rochester can be that complete team from back to front to everything in between and don't take a lot of penalties, that's what I'm curious, and that's what I want to be sure about. Anyways, that'll wrap us up for another week. I want to thank everybody for being here and being with us as always, and everybody who has chimed in. We appreciate everybody's comments as always. And I want to thank the guys for being here. I want to thank Pat. I want to thank Caden. I want to thank Mike. I want to thank Shawn, because this is a busy time of year for everybody. And for us to get together, it's almost like a family, just having a conversation. So until next week, remember, keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher. Have a great week, and we will catch you again next Sunday on our Christmas show. Until then, have a great week, everybody.